What's up guys, welcome back from the Yugioh Pro Duel video. Next match, Cross-Banlist Cup, second match, well, you know, like the second time we arrive at Group B. Next matchup we have Towers Turbo from 2015 versus Paleofrogs, 60 card Paleofrogs from 2017. So only 2 years of difference between both these decks, but both decks of course pack a lot of shenanigans from their respective time. Anyway, so the first list we have QLIPHORT Towers, Turbo, well, I mean it was pretty straightforward, just getting out Epoch QLIPHORT Towers as soon as possible. The deck was of course much better here in the TCG, in Europe that is, because in the States I believe they had a Shonen Jump promo, I believe it was, I think it was Diamond Crab King. And yeah, here in Europe we weren't able to play that, and back in the European Championship back in 2015, Towers Turbo did quite well. And, you know, like Wavering Eyes was just released. Second list, 60 card Peleos. It's going to take on this deck. So which deck has the advantage? You see here with, again, like the votes from the previous video, is that 60 card Peleos is favored, I guess, over QLIPHORT Towers Turbo. I get why. I mean, you know, like Pendulums do have a big weakness against trap heavy decks, like for example Paleozoics. Nonetheless, Peleos do main deck multiple options to first of all, get rid of the Pendulum Scale or prevent the Pendulum Summon from going through. I'm looking at cards like Dynamicicus, for example, or the Mystical Space Typhoon Paleo, or, well, yeah, like, you know, the Solemn Brigade. Basically their whole deck. Anyway, so run into Mirror Force, that's cool. And I think we know the Swap Frog in the hand. So eventually up to cover comes Stellar Diamond. Might seem a strange pick, right? Dweller might have been a better choice, preventing, at least during their turn, during his turn, is prevent the Peleos from coming out from the graveyard. But I was like, well, we know there is a Swap Frog, and you know, like the Totally Awesome is definitely coming because there's already a Paleo on the field. So I was like, well, let's go for Diamond. Again, Diamond prevents cards from being sent from the deck, I think, to the graveyard. So no swap, no grass, I guess. Hope I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it didn't really matter. Again, the Dynamicicus, just basically an easy out, getting rid of basically any threat. And I'm able to set up my scale, but it doesn't matter. That's the thing with Peleos. It's such a slow deck at first, but if you give them maybe one turn, it like can escalate really quickly, and if they're able to draw into Swap Frog, it just escalates faster, if that makes sense. So anyway, the Fiend Griefing as well, I believe the name. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Again, yeah, whatever. So 1-0 behind. Post side deck, I opt to go first. Pendulums can't go second against a deck that plays multiple back rows. And yeah, looking at Peleos, the deck has access to multiple Solemns, the full Solemn Brigade, I think, triple Solemn Strike, the Warning, I think, as well. And yeah, the Mystical Space Typhoons, the Dynamicicus, and so on. So yeah, it's hard for this deck to go second against a deck like that. So finally getting Towers on the field, and you know Towers' effect, it's unaffected by monster effects, spells and traps. And at the same time, special summoned monsters from the opponent, I think, will have like 500 less attack. Not sure if it's defense as well, I think it's only attack. But yeah, anyway, the thing here is this with Peleos. Oh, and also not to forget is that Towers has the ability to send a monster from your opponent's field or hand to the graveyard, but yeah, it's not a quick effect, and that's the big weakness of Towers. And yeah, I think Peleos do have one out to get rid of Towers, or you know, being able to attack over the Towers, and that's Cat Shark. And again, as I mentioned before, the fact that Epoch QLIPHORT Towers does not have the ability to play during your opponent's turn to pop something, or well, you know, like pop their biggest threat like Masterpiece. Again, Masterpiece, basically an upgrade to Towers. Yeah, it's just your opponent will run over you. And the thing is with QLIPHORT Towers Turbo is, well, it's a turbo version, and you're not really running any back row outside maybe one Emptiness, one Skill Drain maybe. Since again, back in the days where QLIPHORT was like the biggest deck, 2014, 2015, or one of the biggest decks, like a stun build was mostly preferred, and QLIPHORT Towers wasn't really main decked. Maybe side decked against decks that really didn't really main deck like an out against it, but it might seem strange. Again, like Towers wasn't their main part, their main to-go-to card. Because again, it was like a brick, you know, and the fact that it's like any out could maybe like potentially get rid of it, like what happens here, since the deck is so vulnerable. So most regular QLIPHORT builds didn't really opt to run it. But anyway, like back in 2015, I remember it very well, European Championship back in 2015, Wavering Ice was just released in like the special edition pack, and I remember like people were looking for Wavering Ice, and that's where this deck popped up as a surprise, and it got a lot of tops, some tops, but there were a couple of players only playing the deck, so, and like, what was it, half or a little under half of them were at least topped the event. But anyway, that's besides the point. So basically the same situation as a previous duel. Is that again, I have towers on the field, but the fact that I playtest, and I'm playing against like a grind deck, a grindy build deck, frogs can just stall out, right? And use, in this case, Dimensional Barrier to prevent the Pendulum Summon from going off, and potentially taking for game since I bounced the Unknown card back to the hand, since Barrier was not that big of a threat, I thought. And of course, yeah, I'm well aware that I believe 2 or 3 Lost Wind are in the graveyard. So if I Pendulum Summon, all 2 or 3 of them will be set, right? And take it to Mirror Force, that's a problem. I'm not really sure if the Paleolist here is running the Sandstorm Mirror Force or one of the other Mirror Forces. I don't think so. But yeah, the regular Mirror Force is great as well, especially because this build is only running one, is it Helix? That pops the back rows. And yeah, again, long story short, basically the same as what happened in the previous duel. Eventually, Paleos do have the options, the one of Ronin Totem in the graveyard, fully loaded thanks to Grass looks greener. And yeah, Opabinia lets the Paleo deck activating the traps directly from the hand, going for Cat Shark, and totally awesome as well this time, and yeah, just double the attack, and it's more than enough. Well, you know, I can't come back. I mean, if I draw something to set up my scale, which is already quite low, since my high scales are pretty much already gone. I think there's one shell left and maybe some other cards, but it's not that high. So, and let's not forget, Toad is still on the field. So, nope, was not going to win this one. So yeah, towers stay behind, only still sitting at one point. This was a sweet, or yeah, sweet, like a straight 3-0 in favor of Paleofrogs. So Paleofrogs still in the tournament, currently sitting at 4 points. And yeah, as you know, next matchup, Rejuvenation Rulers versus Pendulum Magicians Electromite Turbo build. But of course, one extra duel again, prolonging the video, not giving away any spoilers. I again opt to go first, pretty much is the same. Again, doesn't really make sense if this deck is going second against a huge trap-oriented deck. And one of the cards I sided out, or yeah, I think I sided in the double Vanity's Vanity's Fiend indeed, and I think one of the cards I sided out was one Monolith. Yeah, that was one Monolith. Since you saw that I had to like waste a Scout in the previous duel, or the second copy of a Scout early on, and that definitely bite me later in the duel. Since yeah, just get rid of the last Scout here on the field with Cyclone or something like that, and then it's hard for QLIPHORTs to, well, you know, combat that. So Wavering Ice prevents the second Paleo from hitting the field, even though, yeah, I'm sacrificing my scale. But Searching Out Shell, that's, I think, a high scale, not really sure, yeah, I think that's the high scale. Anyway, it's cool. I mean, it's something that potentially could be like an extra beat stick next to towers itself, or again, potentially set up the scale, since there are a lot of lower scales in my deck still. Stalling with a totally awesome here, that's cool. I mean, that's the key card. Toads or Paleos needed, Ronin Totem in the graveyard, and that's basically a setup for the Cat Shark combo coming through. Unless, of course, I get Vanity's Fiend on the field, and there it is. Yeah, that already says enough. Enough tribute summoning like QLIPHORT towers for the Vanity's Fiend, completely blocking the Toad effect. Oh yeah, the Toad special summoning effect, and yeah, again, like any trap will just, oh yeah, the Paleos in the graveyard cannot activate their effects. But again, I'm well aware that I'm basically on a timer, since the Paleo deck is running multiple options, multiple outs to get rid of Vanity's Fiend, and Torrential is just one of them, like their Book of Moon, the Dynamysicus, and so on and so on. So yeah, what can I do with Vanity's Emptiness is going to stall it out a little bit. But again, big weakness is that I think I have like a fully loaded face-up extra deck, like a big Pendulum Summon ready. But again, Vanity's Emptiness blocks both special summons like this. Yeah, the special summon for both players. And yeah, of course, you're drawing into the double Vanity's Fiend like always. You're either not going to see it or see them both. And then they'll be just stuck in your hand, right? Well, then again, if it wasn't for Emptiness, well, yeah, okay. I could have Pendulum Summoned, but then again, if it wasn't for Emptiness, I probably would have lost already. Yeah, that makes it so. And here is where I could have, like, searched out the second monolith, but again, the second monolith was side-decked out either way. But I think there was, like, a Solemn Judgment, no, Solemn Strike and Warning set. So yeah, again, one of them was definitely enough to hold off a big Pendulum Summon. So again, I think we have a well-deserved winner here. 4-0, what can I do? Next matchup, we have Super Rejuvenation Dragon Rulers, Baby Dragon Rulers from back in 2013, right? Prime Dragon Rulers as this versus Electromite Turbo, so full power Electromite Pendulum Magicians with double Electromite and extra deck. The fusion as well, is it Starving Venom? Odd Eyes Venom? You know which one I mean. And yeah, Starving Venom indeed, Astrograph and so on. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. Lithium signing out. Peace.